That might be
It's a
great
sandbox.
question.
It's a soapbox. It's Fanbox.
Well, hey there, sugar. This here's Lenore Zan, and you're watching Fandoms.
And welcome to Fandoms, again, a show from every fan's point of view. I am Tony. I am talking blind because I'm still learning a new system and I'm seeing something that I'm not supposed to be seeing on my screen, but thankfully you guys are here and that's what matters. And so with that said, welcome to this episode. We have a special guest with us this evening. Mr. Snidbits is joining us from The Real Study to talk about the unnecessary hate that is coming with the Batman film. And before we go ahead and get started with that, I want to go ahead and talk to you about something that is kind of near and dear to my heart. And since it's DC Comics related, it kind of works out for this episode, especially. And that is the Fan Home Legend of Batman graphic novel set. This is something that I've had the opportunity to look out for and be a part of the subscriptions. And I will be honest with you, the amount of books you get with this and the nice hard covers and the stories, things that I haven't been able to fully read yet, like The Dark Knight Returns, The Court of Owls, things that I have read before, The Long Halloween, The Laughing, The Killing Joke. All of them are literally part of this, and when you get them all together, they will make a really cool panoramic graphic on the binding. And mind you, you have to go through the process. Now you can stop at any time, but I highly recommend it. I have found so much joy in going through these and just seeing my Batman collection grow, because I'll be honest with you, I was a Superman fan. I enjoyed the Batman movies, but the comic books I'm a little bit behind on. And so if you're wanting to get caught up, whether it be with the New 52 or the Year One or some of the other stuff that's come out that are just complete classics, this is your opportunity to do so. And you can see from the link below, go to fanhome.com and just look up Legends of Batman graphic novels and you will find this set. And not only do you get the books, but the more you are participating, the more you'll get gifts, like different, I call them prizes, literally like a mug, a 10 sign, some really cool artist sketches. There's lots of stuff to get. So be sure to check it out. Again, fanhome.com. Look up The Legend of Batman graphic novel set. You won't regret it. But with that said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into talking about the Superman movie that's coming out this July. And with me tonight is Mr. Snidbits, which you're in the wrong screen. Hold on just a moment here. I am still learning this. There we go. Mr. Snidbits. Are you there? There we go. There we go. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being a part of this. I really appreciate you standing in for Will. And before we get any farther, tell us where we can find you and what's going on with you and especially The Real Study.
So myself, you can still find me on basically all social media, TikTok, now, what is it? Skylight Social, Blue Sky, all the major apps. You will not find me on that unspoken of app, but hey, you know, who do you find on there anymore? You can find The Real Study here on YouTube, as well as on Twitch and all the main podcast segments. So if you like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc., The Real Study is both an audio and video podcast. So you can watch us be foolish about films, or you can just listen to us while you're driving. Either way, it's a good time. I have several other co-hosts that are there, and we talk about every variety of movie, from silent films to modern superhero films and everything in between. So yeah, if you like movies and you want to talk movies, join us, request a film. We will probably review it because we have never really turned anyone down. It's more just like we've got a huge pile and we're trying to get through them at this point. So, you know, you might not see your movie right away, or you'll see it right away because we're just like, ooh, we got to watch that one. So yeah, you can find us basically everywhere. We're also now on the It's Fanbox website, as well as Fanbox Podcast Network, so you can check us out kind of through here as well. But thank you for having me, and I don't know if I can fill Will's shoes completely, but I will do my best.
Well, not a problem at all. And I will be honest with you, like, if for those of you who have seen me with what I've been doing as Mr. Marvelite, whether it's with Nerd Initiative and now with its Fanbox, those things were only honed because Mr. Snippets reached out and let me be a part of the Real Study before it was even the Real Study. I mean, we were even the Triad reviews at one point, and I think it was Bits and Wicks or
Yeah, back
yeah,
when it was just me trying to get a podcast moving,
yeah,
and
and
yeah,
it was
and thank
fun.
you for the same, for joining the Real Study and making it a thing. So
Well, of course, but it's funny because like even when we were kind of like in the early stages of it being the Real Study, like it felt so well polished. Not everything always ever worked. There was always the trying to prep, like kind of like this, like where's Mr. Snidbiz? Is that kind of thing.
right.
But just even looking at it now, like the intros that you guys do, the promos, um, the team is amazing, and that's also a huge shout out to Aina or Hannah, and like
Yeah,
the
my
whole
producer
crew.
Hannah is
Yeah,
amazing. Without Hannah, the show would not run at this point. But that's
yeah,
true about the rest of the crew. Janine Devine, all the
exactly.
movie things. Cell phone wallet keys, who is basically like this side of the internet's over guy. Like he is like our voiceover guy.
Yeah, yeah,
And
like
then
doing like play for keeps on Nerd Initiative. You heard him like right at the beginning of this show. It's
right,
it's very contagious, and I wish him all of the success to kind of break into that because
well,
let's face it, somebody needs to pay him.
his portfolio is like bursting at the seams at this point. I
Yeah.
don't want to forget Black Girl Marvel, because she's been there as long as you had.
Yes.
Without you and her, the Real Study wouldn't exist at all. So I really do appreciate you guys as well. So
Oh,
I wish Will
absolutely.
was here, because I would love to hear his takes on this, but I'm sure he'll tell us.
Oh yeah, and Will. I mean, let's face it, Will loves the show. I mean, you guys just did was it Big Trouble in Little China in the Golden Child,
Hmm.
and we had a conversation before your show when I told him what you guys were doing. He's like, "Why am I not on this show?" And I'm like, "I don't know." As soon as I found out it was Big Trouble in Little China, I'm like, "I want to be on the show."
Right.
So, it's been great. And you've always had an open invitation to a lot of us, and we greatly appreciate that. And also it's just so much fun to have you on the podcast network now. And if you go to its fanbox at some point, it's fanbox.com, you will see Mr. Snippets, and you will eventually see the whole team with their bios and where you can find them and what they're doing. So that's going to be there. And all of the Real Study shows show up on the website on that front page as they're released, just like this show will. It's been a fun endeavor to see what its fanbox has become and what it's going to become. And so be sure to check that out. It's fanbox.com. Also check out the Real Study. They'll be on now. Is it every week or every 2 weeks?
It's every week,
Okay.
with the exception of like we'll take like spring break. We took a week, and then we do break in the summer, just because podcasting in the summer tends to dip, and I think it's just like a
Yeah.
natural thing. People are outside, they're doing their thing, so it's just something we just kind of we treat ourselves much more like a traditional TV show, in that we're around in the fall, in the winter, and in the spring, and then we dip out for a little while.
Yep.
Um,
And also, huge shout out to V Podcast. Thanks for being in here and just kind of being with us. And those of you who are watching, be sure to like if you have an input on what we're going to be talking about tonight, by all means, give your input.
we want to
But
hear it.
with that said, let's go ahead and just kind of like give a basis of this. We've had the DCEU, we've had the Snyderverse, I guess you call it at this point, and there were some great films. Some were lackluster. I have the 10 3D box set for the Man of Steel. I have the majority of the DCEU movies, with the exception of like Wonder Woman 1984. I don't have the Flash movie because I'm just not going to own it. I'm not going to support um, that person.
Ezra, right?
Yeah, and so and I think I may be missing like Aquaman 2, which I don't think I'm probably gonna catch up with that. And I'm not gonna get the second Shazam, like no
Which was
chance.
better than the first one, but still.
Yeah. And and then there's Black Adam, which was kind of like my Morbius for the DCEU. Lots of
Uh,
promises, but nothing came through. But there were some good, and I enjoyed the Henry Cavill version of Superman. There were some misgivings that I gave at the beginning. I personally did not like the bioorganic element of the Man of Steel or the Superman story, because I've always known it as crystals.
mhm.
And there being a little bit more technology involved that was a little bit more cleaner. And that's just from my experience in the comics and everything else. And the robots were there, though they weren't really what I've known from the comics.
Yeah, they were
But
just like weird, floaty, like tentacle arm creatures
Mhm.
rather than regular robots.
but I believe that Sally Fields as Martha Kent, Kevin Costner as Jonathan Kent was a great choice. And I absolutely love Henry Cavill. So,
Right.
great human being, super nerd, which I'm super excited for him and, whatever endeavor he does in the future. Uh, but there's been a cult following to that universe. And which was funny because there's a following, and we know that there were people that kind of like during the Oscars when they did that voting for the best, scene, there was a little bit of, I would say, trolling in a sense of how they, got their scene to, win out over Avengers Endgame, which some people still have misgivings about that film as well because it was a very, CGI and character heavy, movie. But James Gunn taking over the DCU with Peter Safran, which I've been able to meet both. Um, they're super
Lucky.
excited. They were super excited. It was so funny because I was at the Guardians 3 premiere. Met James Gunn because of course he's the director and my kid was going to meet him because he just loves everything that James Gunn's done. Um,
That he's
before
allowed to
Trauma
watch.
and yes,
Yeah,
before
but he's allowed to watch.
yeah, exactly. Like Scooby-Doo 2,
Right.
like when he realized that James Gunn did those things, he's just like, "Oh,
I
wow."
assume you'll let him get into Slither and everything later.
At some point,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna also be like a really a mind explosion for him when he comes to the point where he sees Michael Rooker because he's a big Michael Rooker fan too,
Right.
and to see him in that movie is going to be a little bit overwhelming. But
Did you ever see Super from James Gunn?
yes,
Rainn
that
Wilson,
was a very
Elliot Page
strange
at the
film
time.
for me. Yes, yeah, it was a very strange film for me. I didn't hate it. It was just not
It's a
what I.
strange film, like so
Yeah,
that's why. Yeah, it's a
yeah.
weird movie.
But so we've got this, and James Gunn, of course, going in, we've seen him with the Guardians of the Galaxy. He's obviously a great ensemble director, uh, but there are people that are attacking him and attacking the Superman movie without even seeing it first. And what's your take so far on like what you've seen on the internet hate for this?
Well, we talked about this the other day where I think you and I are both kind of just on the internet, kind of seeing what the trolls are saying, because there are people out there that the moment they showed the outfit, before they even dropped the trailer, they just showed Superman sitting in the chair putting a boot on, and the world ignited in flames as how dare they put the chonies back on Superman. And that's a huge thing. And like people are making AI pictures of him with like a giant pair of chonies as a diaper on his whole body and like really over the top stuff. And I get it if you don't love those, but you kind of miss the kind of concept of Superman, which is that's the way his outfit has primarily looked since 37. And so because Cavill's Superman came along and Snyder decided to change some things, exactly the boot there, because they tried to change some things, it didn't sit right with the people that grew up with Man of Steel as their Superman, because now we're 13 years out or 12 years out. And so there are a lot of people that were kids when they saw that. And so they're like, that's Superman. And I get that because for like you and I, Reeve is our Superman. Like that's the Superman we grew up with.
And a little bit of Ralph, but we won't talk about that too much.
Yeah. But still, like that's still technically that same Superman. Like that's the same character. While Cavill's is a little different. So I see that there's a lot of negativity, and what I think throws me is why people are so negative before even seeing the film, or even they were so negative before they saw this picture and never saw the trailer, and they were just like, "That's terrible." And I'm like, "Why? What about this photo is terrible?" I see Superman. I don't know. That's what I see. I don't know. What did you see with people on the internet?
So here's my thing. I'm gonna go back a little bit to like some like a biblical background for myself because I used to Christian college and stuff like that. I think of the story of Samson. It's a pretty well known story. There's this guy who he's given these abilities. He's strong. There's something that's involved with his hair. And every time you depict a character like that, there's these big rippling, brawling muscles. And what I took from the story was he wasn't muscular. He had supernatural strength, which
Right.
meant most likely because of how the story of Samson took place, he was probably a really scrawny guy, or he was chubby. It was one of the two because
Right.
we know he was willing to eat like honey out of the belly of a lion. He was all into sloth and excess. He only did things when he was angry. My perception of Superman has always been, now I know in the comics they depict him as this muscle bound character, but if you really think of the concept of who he is, he's powered by the sun. He has supernatural powers. He has superhuman powers.
Mhm.
And so why would the muscles be necessary on a being that can lift something? And it's not because let's say on Krypton the gravity was heavier, and because of that he's stronger than he is on Earth. He was never on
Right.
Krypton long enough to build that. He's a kid from Kansas who just happens to have the ability to absorb the Earth's yellow sun and use it in a way that allows him to fly, have heat vision, you know cold breath, and he can lift superly heavy things.
Right. Well,
And
don't forget about his invulnerability as well.
yes, exactly. And so I know a lot of people were upset with this image up here because of the bagginess of the outfit, that it didn't extenuate and it didn't make him look super strong. But honestly, for me, that's a more realistic Superman.
Right. Well, let's use Flash as a good example. If Flash were a runner, right, and was fast because he was a runner, he would have huge thighs that more like a sprinter, right? Because sprinters have huge thighs and huge lower
Right.
bodies.
Right.
But Flash is a scrawny chemist kind of guy, like,
Mhm.
and yet he can still run because of the powers, the speed force, right? Superman's no different. It's the same concept where it's this normal, average looking man, but he will surprise you when you shoot at him or try to punch him. It won't go that well. So
Good
I don't know.
example. And here's the thing. Like, here's another concept that always makes me. Um, Tuvi likes the suit. He thinks it's one of the greatest suit reveals for the DC in years. And I have to agree. There are so many elements, and we're gonna look into it in a minute. In fact, you know what? I might as well just pull it up. It is right. It's not this
I
one.
like the
Don't worry
way
about this one.
I like that you
Hold on.
said that the combo of the different Superman designs is into one is incredible because you're talking about
Yeah, it's
not only
this
the
here.
All-Star Superman and you're talking about that's a good example. Like it's from different universes kind of crammed into a nice amalgamation, and
Yeah,
I think it works.
yeah, and I mean, just like if I pull this up and make it a little bit bigger here for us, I mean, you can kind of see you've got like New 52, you've got Kingdom Come, you've got All Star Superman. Yeah, I mean, you've
Mhm.
got all of these different elements that again are pulling from the comics. That I know people have complained about the lines, but they didn't have a problem with like no underwear and like
Or
not
the
even a
like
real belt.
speckliness, right? There's a
Yeah,
speckliness to Snyder's Superman
yeah,
costume, which is
which
weird.
was not a problem because that was his vision of the character. But there are elements, and I mean we can even look at Snyder's Superman here. I mean, it's very much what he was going for, and it's also very much a Scott Snyder styling.
Right.
This is kind of like this is like the 300 of superheroes when you think about it.
Right.
Like that's what
Yeah,
he's going
you
for.
could pluck him out and put him right into Sucker Punch, and it would work weirdly.
And it's
So
not bad. I mean, it's not bad, but it's also not that vision. And so just like there are Elseworlds in the comic books, there's got to be that ability to allow for a different story for building. I think Cornstarch has even said, coming out of an interview, he said, it's not guaranteed that he'll be Superman after this film. And I think that there is that potential. And I think it's more of like a not a he's on the chopping block. It's more of like a maybe they didn't lock him into a deal like the Marvel universe did,
right.
where they've got like 5 contracts and stuff. I mean, I think this universe is in such a early stage that they've got to be willing to allow risks to take place, and if they need to course correct something, they're going to do it.
Right.
um
Well, and I think they're doing that by being smart. Gunn has said specifically that until they've read a script that they feel will hit, they won't greenlight it, which means that we're not going to just get a Craven style situation where they're just like, here, this character is popular. Let's put him out now. We're going to get purposeful stuff. And if you look at Gunn's history, look at the Guardians trilogy as a great example. But even just looking at the Suicide Squad, he's already delved into the DC universe perfectly. Like, honestly, there's zero reason to have any concern about what he's going to do with these characters, because if he can make you like the most despicable characters in the DC universe, like, I was rooting for the shark. Like, what am I doing? Like, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, so how can that not translate, to these characters? Not to mention the fact that when I watched the trailer for this the first time, I was just soaked in tears. Like, I haven't felt that way about a preview in like over a decade. Like, it's been so
the chill
long.
factor. It's that
Right.
chill factor. It's that, oh, I don't know what's going to happen here. Like, I'll be honest with you. I'm blanking on his name right now. Nicholas Holt.
Oh yeah,
I
Nicole.
would have never thought of him as Lex Luthor, but I will tell you, seeing him in that trailer, you know me, we've talked about this before. I was a kid who struggled to read. My mom in I think it was like 1992 or 1990, took me to the comic book shop, bought me the Death of Superman collector's edition comic. I still have it. I have all of the accessories intact. The comic is not, because the comic has been read over and over again.
As it should have been.
Exactly. And I fell in love with Superman. I was there for all of the Reign of Superman comics. I was there coming into it because I believe it was I can't remember who was right after he came back, but long hair Superman. I went back and read some of the original, like the earlier runs. I'm talking about like the 1980s comics where it was more like newspaper pages. We've come a long way when it comes to comic books. I'm just going to be honest with it. But I was a big Superman fan. And then going into watching the Christopher Reeve Superman films, I not only for Superman Returns watched the movie, but I went back and I read the novelization for it first. And honestly, I liked that better than the movie. That's just my opinion. The novelizations are usually a little more in depth. And I was a huge Smallville fan.
Okay. See, I never got into Smallville.
Michael Rosenbaum as Lex Luthor is the best Lex Luthor adaptation I have ever seen.
Over Gene Hackman?
I am going to be honest with you. Yes.
Wow.
Now, Gene Hackman was great, but the lines that they gave Michael Rosenbaum for that show were iconic. There's a part where he's going and he's like, he's doing a monologue. This is while him and Clark are friends before he's even Superman, before Lex is a villain. And you see Lex going down that road because he's first a likable character. And then like he takes that turn. And there's one moment where he just like, he looks at Clark and says, I am the villain of the story. And you get chills. And then the moment that Lex kills his father, you're like, this is who we've been waiting for this whole time. So Nicholas Holt has the look, and even just hearing him say the thing, he's back. Like the vitriol from him, I'm so hoping that he's going to top Michael Rosenbaum. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at with this film. Like, I've already had adaptations that are good for me.
Right.
And so if this film doesn't hit, it's not.
That's okay. Right.
Exactly.
That's okay. Right.
Exactly. It doesn't have. Listen, grew up on Ninja Turtles. I am a OG Kevin Eastman comic book, and and even like we'll go back even to the Topps comics for the Ninja Turtles that they kind of did, that was based loosely off of the animated series. And the animated series, I loved that. And then you get into the films, the live action films in the 90s. That was my bread and butter. My kid is in love with the Michael Bay Ninja Turtle films. And I will sit down and endure them because they're not for me.
Right.
They're
like the Minecraft movie is not for us, even though it is for us. It's not for us. It's for Minecraft fans and kids.
Yeah. But I will say, I did like that film. Like, that's the thing. Like, you got to remember, you may not be the target audience, but it doesn't mean that it might not appeal to you.
Right.
But if it doesn't appeal to you, that's okay.
Well, also, mood is a huge factor. So, like, if you hated a film and everybody else loved it, maybe give it a rewatch down the road a little bit and see if maybe you were just in a bad mood that day or in a funky mood.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. Let me give the example of what you're kind of talking about when it comes to my experience with Superman. So of course I grew up with Christopher Reeve, all 4 films, even the fourth one when it's an awful film, honestly. But I loved it because I was 10 years old when it came out. So like to me that was Superman. Um, Even though Gene Hackman dubbing his voiceover, that actor was weird. That's fine. But for me, when Man of Steel came out, I was really excited because I always enjoyed the DC universe. I've always been a Superman, Batman, more like just the whole of the main characters of Justice League. So when I saw that movie, I was really, really excited, and so I sat down and I went with one of my good friends who is one of the biggest Superman fans. He's almost like I think maybe a bigger Superman fan than you, which is weird, but like he's just that diehard Superman shirt almost every day, like diehard fan.
Right.
As soon as the movie ended, I turned to him and I just berated the film in a very visceral way. And I could see the look on his face where he was like, "Oh, I really like that, and you hated it, and now you're hating on the film I love." Which in hindsight, I should have waited and digested to talk to him about it. But I didn't like the film while most people I knew did like the film. So what did I do? Exactly what I said. I waited some time and I went back and watched it again. And I've now seen it 7 times. And I'll tell you right now, that movie is not for me. But I've seen it enough times to know that. But I also don't care if other people do. It doesn't matter to me. And I will look forward to the next iteration. That's all people have to do. And the hatred towards this new movie is giving that same kind of vibe. Like maybe wait for the movie to come out, maybe give it a solid chance. And then if you say this isn't for me, I respect that. I have no qualms about people saying it's not for you. Even if you said this doesn't look good, I don't want to watch it. I respect that too. It's the vitriol and the like personal attacks against the actors and the personal attacks against the producers and directors, or saying that they've killed DC. And I'm like, you haven't even seen them start DC yet. Like, give this a chance, or at least back off and let other people give it a chance. Like, at least.
It's also kind of funny because I was thinking about this too. Like, it's like, I understand you don't like, for some people that have like, and listen, I'm mutuals with a guy who hates James Gunn, and okay, that's fine. You can hate James Gunn. You can do that. But it's so funny because a lot of the people that are hating on James Gunn right now, they're pulling back the alt-right talking points that were going against him about his past trauma posts on Twitter, when it was Twitter. And I want to set a little bit of the record straight when it comes to that as well. If you don't know what Trauma is a production company. It's very much like what Dread is today. And it's all about shock and awe. It's all about making people uncomfortable and doing stuff. And so there were certain expectations on social media, on everything else. Like when you worked for them, you were expected to cause a stir because the controversy was what got, people watching the films.
Right.
We're going to start seeing that again because I believe, isn't Trauma like involved with Toxic Avenger?
Yes, 100%. That is their baby.
And we're seeing a little bit of a revival of that right now. And so there's a potential that you're going to start seeing Trauma act up. Now, mind you, early 2000s, maybe they've learned their lesson. We'll see how it goes. But
they're a horror movie company, so they're going to push boundaries by default. Like,
I kid you not. I completely understand that. Talked with a director for a horror film, and the shock and awe was real in the way that they were talking. And so like in some cases you have to put like a trigger warning in front of certain conversations because just what they're about, that's their mentality. And you have to be in a dark mindset to do those things. But what I found really interesting was 2014 Guardians of the Galaxy, the first movie, came out. Before anyone even brought things up, James Gunn addressed it.
Right.
He said it before the first. Listen, he's like, I regret some of the posts that I've done before, blah, blah, blah. He did it. Volume 2 comes out. This time, James Gunn has been known to be on Twitter. Again, at the time it was called Twitter, being very responsive to fans, answering questions, talking about the Easter eggs and things like that. But one of the other things he was very openly against was Donald Trump. And he spoke very vocally on social media about him. And so there was an alt-right group that came out and resurfaced those tweets.
Right.
And so that is the reason why he got fired. It was not because they were there. It was because it was resurfaced with an alt-right group. And I believe it was Alan Horn at the time who fired him. I used to blame Ike Perlmutter, but I don't think it was him. I think it was Alan Horn. He, out of the knee-jerk reaction, fired him off of the MCU.
Well, that was what was happening at the time. Exactly. Everybody was getting canned for having bad previous posts, which is funny because everybody between 1995 and 2008, everyone was saying terrible crap. Like it's not
Yeah.
weird to find that everybody was saying terrible crap. And look at the
I mean,
movies
look at the
that
movies
were being released.
yes.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like let's face it, Ben Affleck was Batman in the Justice League, or is in the series. Um, just go back and watch Mallrats a little bit.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
yeah, you're gonna see people doing controversial things because that was the stage. Now, does that does it make it acceptable? No, it does not. But at
No.
the same time, you have to. If people own their mistakes, let them own their mistakes and
Well,
judge them moving forward.
and that's a great point. And
Mhm.
also, people are allowed to grow. Like it's okay that people in 2010 were doing that in the sense that it's what was then. It's not because it was right. But if everybody was doing it, it doesn't make it right. It just means that it's now contextual to the time. If you go watch a movie from the 70s, you're going to find some pretty horrific things in those movies
Oh yeah.
because of the time period that it was in. But that doesn't mean there isn't some value to the films, or that you can't notice those things, take note, and say, hey, these things need to be thought about or brought up. That's
Yeah.
still true about 2008, 2010 films. Like that's still true. And I think James Gunn reflected on what he had posted and was like, ooh, that's a little tone deaf now, right? It's not working the way I said it. Then.
And also, he never thought he was going to go that mainstream. And so,
Right.
as soon as he hit Guardians and Guardians was a success, he acknowledged that. And I think that's the key point. I mean, let's face it. I remember when I was on Twitter right around that time, I knew that he had already addressed it before, because I remember like reading all of that Guardians. Because if you're informed, you'll be looking at what things are going on and what's going on with people. Like the whole idea that while Ryan Coogler was filming Wakanda Forever, he got in trouble at a bank because people were assuming that he was trying to rob the place. Like stuff like that happened, and there are lots of isms that take place, and you can watch out, you can see those things. And yeah, I knew about it. And I remember being on a campaign. We actually raised money to put a billboard outside of Burbank, California, saying, hey, Disney, save the galaxy, rehire James Gunn. And the same people that went after James Gunn, the exact same alt-right person that went after him, put us on a list. My name was on a list under James Gunn's, like almost at the same level of Dave Bautista's. And I was like, you know what? That's like a badge of honor at this point. Because if I can stand up and say someone can learn a lesson and they can change, then yes. So that accusation holds no weight with me. And all it tells me is you obviously weren't old enough to read between the lines and see what's going on at the time. Am I saying that the jokes and the comments and the pictures were acceptable? No.
No.
But I'm also saying he's not the same person. I mean, let's face it, like Brightburn got drowned during that whole controversy. And if you want to know how we know that James Gunn's going to be a good Superman director, go back and watch how he did Brightburn, because that kid's power set and how they depicted it in the film, chef's kiss. Perfect.
Yeah, I will agree to that. I will still think that the screenplay could have used a lot more work, but he also didn't write the movie.
Right.
He only produced it. And so again, being a producer. But let's talk about the fact that Disney did rehire him. Like, obviously, the mouse wasn't so upset that they were like, no. They brought him back to do another third, and in my opinion, the best Guardians movie to date, because I love that it's Rocket's story, and they really delve into some wonderful stuff there. Which also means he knows how to wrap up stories, right? That's something that a lot of people don't know. Like, sure, he can start stories, a lot of people can, but can he wrap them up in a way that's meaningful, with heart, and that will make us go, wow, what a great package of a trilogy. So I'm kind of hoping that Superman leading to Supergirl will lead to like one other Superman movie that can kind of, end cap Supergirl, so we get kind of a trilogy. But we'll see. It's Biggie. Welcome, Biggie.
Hey. But yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, I think when we look at this film, first of all, you can't take a sneak peek and really have a gauge for it. Now, I'm excited from what I saw. And
You're talking about the 5-minute preview, right?
Exactly. I'm excited about that, and the clips we saw in the trailer. And in my mindset, I look at that and go, this is the makings of a great film. Could I be wrong? Absolutely, yes, I could be wrong.
Sure.
I could come out of this film and hate it and go, I now can say I hate a James Gunn film. That's
right. The first one.
the first one.
Right.
You know, I mean, listen, I wasn't super wild about Scooby-Doo, but Monsters Unleashed redeemed it a lot. And then, you know, you go into, and I mean, even the stuff that he's like produced and stuff, not even necessarily the stuff you write, the Belko Experiment, things like that. Like
I never saw that.
Oh, great film.
Okay.
Only thing is, I will say, it came right out at the same time as Mayhem, so it's kind of like it's kind of like my Olympus Has Fallen and White House Down, where it's like two films with the same style coming at the same time.
Armageddon, Deep Impact, yep. Totally.
Exactly. But I really enjoyed the film, and I know to at least give it a chance. I will give any film a chance. Listen, I watched Morbius. I watched Venom: The Last Dance. I watched Kraven the Hunter. So I understand what it's like to give a film a chance.
I give them a chance. I do.
Now,
I'm with you there.
and it's like, and from each of those films, there were parts that I did like out of them, but
Right.
overall, I didn't. And so I already know there are parts that I will like out of this film. I need to get our Henry Cavill off of here because he's more Calvarine than for me now. So I see this film and I'm like, okay, we've got the automatons, we've got the robots, we've got let's go back up a little bit more. We've got crypto. There are some fantastic elements, and people are judging based off of what they said. And I want to go specifically to this scene where we had Robot 4, which we also know as Alan Tudyk. At some point, I would love for the robot to say, "I'm a leaf on the wind," but
no, because then he'll die.
Well,
he'll die if he says that. We don't need him to die.
I mean, come on. I mean, we're.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. So he's making.
Or I'm a leaf. Boom. Just take him out at that moment.
Oh yeah, and listen, if you didn't know, we needed. Oh, there's my face gone. We needed to have crypto in this universe. Like it needed to be there. And so I just hit it again. Let me hide it now. Is it gonna come back? I don't think so. But people are attacking the entire conversation that's happening when he thanks the robot, when he thanks number 4, and 4 is basically like, I'm a robot, you don't need to thank me, I will not appreciate it. And then he looks over at 12 and 12's like, he looked at me. And if you don't get it, like, I bet there's this relationship between Superman and 4 that is like a back and forth. It's just like the Bruce Wayne Alfred Pennyworth relationship.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Where yes, Alfred Pennyworth is the butler, but he's more of a father to Bruce Wayne than anything else. And he is the heart of that man. And so if you don't get that, and like, if you look, oh, well, why is the butler telling him what to do? Why is the butler, picking up an airplane? Like, like if you go back to like Batman Begins and it's like, why would he will everything to the butler? You just don't get the relationship. Just tell me you didn't read between the lines.
You tell me you don't know Batman without telling me you don't know Batman. It's the same thing. That's a really good point. So going off of this, the curly Q is something I've heard people complain about. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're complaining about the Superman's curly Q. Like that's literally something that he had in everything. And just because Henry Cavill never really played Clark Kent, and I'm trying to just be honest, like how often does he actually play Clark Kent in the DCEU? He's Man of Steel for like a second at the end where we see him smile and he looks more like a barista bro than he looks like a reporter to me. And then you go further and his hair is the same. Like it doesn't really look any different. So like that one iteration, they changed things. And because of that, there's a whole generation of people who are like, what do you mean Choni's in a curly Q? I'm like, what do you mean Choni's in a like those are like a requirement. Cross-eyed oh, that's not something you should probably be saying in the chat, but hey. It's called a fisheye lens or a wide angle lens. Maybe look a little further into photography before judging that kind of a thing. And again, talking about the hate, like it comes from every direction, even in chat sections. All I'm asking people to do is to slow down, take a breath, wait for July 11th, see the film. If you don't want to see it in theaters because you're like, I'm not giving them my money, sure. Wait for it to come onto Max and watch it. but do at least give it a shot if you like superhero movies. Don't just be like, ugh, it's not Cavill, so it sucks. Well,
Right.
Cavill's gonna grow up and become too old to play these characters, so there's no point. Um, no, it's not fisheye. It's a wide-angled lens. Anyway, I'm not going to argue with people in the chat. But this is the point. People are hating on things without seeing it first. Yes, we all saw that his eyes looked a little weird, but this is no different than what happened in Guardians. Like, James Gunn uses this lens in certain scenes in almost every film.
You know, there's also in some films, and I always think about this. There's those moments where you have a character that's either like hyper focused or they're kind of freaking out, where they'll do like very much a similar shot. You know, we don't know any context behind it. This could easily have been his first flight in the suit, like really
Right.
going, and like he's probably banking through the snow and he's doing stuff, and so they'll do that. Does it mean it's in the whole film? No, but again, this is like taking and I always say it this way. It's like a kid that wants pancakes and mom's making pancakes and she's mixing the batter and the kid freaks out. I didn't want pudding. I wanted pancakes. It's like, shut up and let me finish what I'm doing. Like, you don't know what's going on. And so there are things that you can say, okay, I don't like this if this is what it means, but you don't know if that's what it means yet. Like, take the time. Let's wait till the movie comes out. Let's see what happens. Because guess what? You whining and complaining about it is not going to stop the film from coming out at this point.
Right.
This is not a Sonic the Hedgehog moment. This is not one of those things where it's like you're not changing the way things are. Because honestly, I have seen people already like do photoshopping on removing the collar and making it a little more like the open neck. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it looked. Like, just because you're not happy with the way something looks doesn't mean. I'll be honest with you. I like Henry Cavill as Superman. The suit grew on me. I had a Hot Toys figure for a long time. Like, I was into it, but I wasn't at first. I saw those first images when they were getting ready to make the Man of Steel, and I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know. I don't know. And that's how I was, and it grew on me.
Right.
This is not, listen, if this was Henry Cavill coming back into the suit and they completely change it and they like nerfed the character from what we've seen him before, I could see people being upset. This is a different universe. This is a different Superman. Just give it a chance. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
That's the same thing. You know, the idea that like, this guy doesn't look like Superman. I'm like, you can see it in the trailer that he looks like Superman, and then he also looks like Clark Kent. And people forget this aspect of Superman. The whole reason I'm not a big fan of the Superman in the DCEU is that we don't get to see him in his actual disguise, which is Clark Kent.
Right.
We don't get to see the mild-mannered nature because people are always like, oh, he puts on glasses. How much of a secret identity is that? I'm like, watch Reeve in the moment where he meets with Margot Kidder for the first time, when he meets Lois for the first time in a Superman movie. He's going to tell her that he's Superman. He even takes off his glasses and takes a lower register and is ready to say, Lois, I'm Superman. But then you watch him put his glasses back on and he re-establishes that mild-manneredness and he becomes a goofy nerd again, all in one shot. Like, we're talking superior acting to show us both sides of this person, but just with mannerisms. And I see that with this actor playing Superman. I never got to see that with Henry Cavill. And it's not because I don't think he could do it. It's that they never gave him the opportunity to do it. You got to see him as Superman in the first movie. And then after that, he was Superman again. And then he was just angry, dark Superman after that. So like, what did we ever get
plus
showed what his range was?
They also forget the fact that we're watching close up this character. We're seeing this character close up. Most of the time, what they're seeing Superman in is grainy video or blurry images or from a distance. And you know what? There's a guy that works in my building. He works with prosthetics. And I looked at him and I made a double take because he looks like Nathan Fillion.
Interesting.
But guess what? He just looks like him. There are doppelgangers and people that look like people all over the place. Just because there's a guy who acts like a bumbling fool around everybody and is messing things up and is always having issues doesn't mean he's Superman. oh wow, you have the jawline like Superman. You should own that. Maybe you should get a you should own that and try to look like him and maybe change your clothing. It might make people think you're not less of a nerd. You
I
know,
like what you're saying there. Yeah.
yeah,
If
it's
people were
like
that if people were that unique, then we wouldn't have 7 different people that have played Superman who look a lot alike.
yeah. Well, I always thought of it like when I grew up, I heard the saying like if you think you're one in a million, there's like 20 of you. Like there's like 100 of you in China.
Right. Also,
So
remember you probably share your birthday with at least 5 to 10,000 other people.
yeah, and
Bare
I
bare
know 5
minimum.
of those people, and it's the weirdest thing.
Right.
Like my
I don't know.
birthday is more me having to wish other people happy birthday because
That's funny.
so
I have to tell everybody Happy Star Wars Day on my birthday, which is really annoying, but hey, it is what it
yeah,
is.
good point.
Um, I don't know. I don't understand the hate that people give to something they know nothing or very little about. Like I said, if you saw the preview and you were like, not for me, then okay, say it's not for you, but that's
Yeah.
really where it should end. Because other than that, you have no information about this film. Even if you watch the 5-minute preview, I think there's a little bit more of a chance that I would listen to you if you said you were not looking forward to it. But still, you're talking about 5 minutes out of a 200 or a 110 or 120 minute movie. Like you're grasping at straws. Previews tell you nothing about a movie. In fact, they can cut it in such a way that it's a complete lie, which is common.
Yeah.
But this movie, the preview so far hasn't told us anything about the story. So I don't think they're able to lie to you. They're literally just showing you beautiful images and a little bit of dialogue. And from what I can tell, this is going to have that Suicide Squad effect because if you look in the background of some of the shots, there's giant critters flying around and destroying things, and it's much like the starfish in Suicide Squad. So just give it a chance. Just stop being contrarian and either just zip it or wait, like one or the other. But this whole idea that we're going to thrash every movie that comes down the pike just because we can just seems like a waste of time. There's so much more people could do with their lives than that. Like,
Yeah.
anyway.
Now, mind you, there are also people who just enjoy and here's the thing, they're going to attack James Gunn for his shock factor, social media history, but then they're going to hate and troll on something because that's what they enjoy. And they don't realize that there's going to be a consequence to that down the road. Like people aren't going to, you're not going to, when you do find passion in something, it's kind of lessened by what you actually are hating on.
Mhm.
You can destroy your voice, and I'm very much, me. I think we're both of the same mindset. It is more important to be a positive voice in this day and time, especially this day and time, especially about the things that we love, because we can either tear it down and never get it again, or we can build it up and hope for better in the future. That's life. That's life. If you want to hate on this film, don't go watch it. Just don't.
Right.
And I know like people there, and then there's also the arguments there. And I find this the funniest. There are people who are angry about him screaming when the sun shines on him, being like, the sun would never hurt him. Have you ever had a bone broken and it being set?
Right.
It's gonna hurt.
Well,
It's gonna
Wolverine hurts when he heals.
Truvia, I like what you said. It's be curious, not judgmental. That's
Right.
exactly what it is. And so yeah, so um if you don't like the fact that your Superman is screaming in pain, first of all, we don't know what got him to the point of where he's got broke. Like when you see Crypto messing with him, that arm was broken.
Right.
Like he had to flop his shoulder to get his arm to move to grab the cape.
Right.
What was so bad that it destroyed his body?
Well,
I'm
I,
excited to know what that is.
I am too. The idea that an invulnerable character is invincible, like people don't even understand the language they're talking about. He's invulnerable, but doesn't make him invincible. Quite
Exactly.
literally, he has vulnerabilities, including magic and other things. So maybe he encountered somebody that could kick his butt. Like maybe that's what happened and you don't know, but that's what we are all assuming is that he encountered a Brainiac style character or Shazam style character
Or
that could
Zatanna.
just or Zatanna or
Zatanna
anybody
and
could have messed him
her
up,
skimpy outfit could beat Superman back and forth like nobody's
Right.
business
All
because
with her backwards
he
words.
can't handle magic.
Right.
Yeah.
But yet people claim they read the comics, but then I'm like, how do you read the comics and have this opinion when you You clearly missed things,
But
simple things.
But here's the funny thing: if you go online and you look, there are people that are defending what's going on, like off the comics, and they're like, "Don't come at me with this comic stuff. These are movies." And I'm like, "Wait, it's the source material." Like,
Right.
I get it. And this is where we get to the really fine line. There are people who only like the movies, and that's okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
There are people who only like the comics, and that's okay. There
Yeah.
are people who love the movies and criticize it because of the comics. That's okay. There are people who like the movies, go to read the comics, but don't like the comics because they're not like the movies. That's
Right.
okay. There are so many different like versions, but you just can't delegitimize what somebody else is going through. Like,
Well, subjectivity is such a factor here. We're talking about art,
Yeah.
whether it be billion-dollar art is not relevant.
oh, James
Somebody is
Gunn
still
is
putting
destroying
together.
the DCU,
Right.
according to you.
Right. So you don't want to watch it, but that doesn't mean he's destroying anything. He didn't make billions of dollars for Disney because he was destroying the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's weird to me that subjectivity is something that half of the people don't seem to understand. There is no such thing as an objectively good film. Doesn't exist. And anybody who tells you otherwise is trying to sell you something. Just keep that in mind. So if you like it, like it. If you don't like it, you don't have to crap on everybody else's viewpoints if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Or
I've
try
met
to
a
find
guy.
something positive about it.
I've met a guy who doesn't like any movie at all except for Easy Rider.
Interesting. I mean, it's a good movie, but
Now he was
you
a
know,
disc jockey, and that's all he. That's that's the only movie he likes. He doesn't watch movies. He doesn't watch TV. He just listens
Sure.
to music and does stuff on the internet. And it's like, that's okay. You can be that kind of person.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But it's very funny. It's very funny to me, especially if this hate was coming out after the film came out. Sure.
Some of it would make sense.
Yeah. Someone made a comment earlier in there where it says Gunn is going to make the only type of movie he can, and that's a team up. Guess what? Superman is a team up movie. Superman is a team up character. If you don't understand that, Lois Lane, Perry White, Jimmy Olsen, regardless of whether the Justice League is involved, Superman it was only as good as the sum of his parts, and
Right.
that meant sometimes having to save his friends, sometimes them giving him exactly what he needed because he couldn't be everywhere at every time. And so, if you don't understand that even Superman would require an ensemble cast, and that is where I feel like Man of Steel has suffered because they
Right.
tried to take away the humanity of the character.
Well, without getting too far into it, they tried the team up stuff by adding in characters that didn't need to be there, and they could have supplanted them with other characters. The fact that Jor-El stays in the film for almost half of it is weird when they could have had some other element instead of Jor-El showing up as this digital dude for a while. Like, he still needed a team up. He still needed help.
Yeah.
Even in Man of Steel, even in Batman v Superman, like etc. That he is a team up character because there's only so far he can go. He can defend Metropolis, fine, but as soon as they get to galactic level events, it's going to change everything. So I'm with you there. Can we also talk about the fact that even if James Gunn can only make team up movies, so what? There are some directors that can only make certain types of movies well.
Yeah.
You don't see Tim Burton out there trying to make a fluffy Wes Anderson piece because he can't. That's not his style. That's not the way he likes to make movies.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll never see him make something outside of this kind of emo style. Whether you like him or not, that's not the relevance. The relevance is that some character or some directors have a style and they are good at certain things. If he's good at team ups, so what? Let him team it up. If it works, it's a great movie regardless. So
Exactly. And I think that's the thing about this movie is we don't know what it's going to be. But we do know this. James Gunn has been tasked to make a successful universe, whether it's people want to be like the MCU or not. I kind of hope it doesn't. Like, the MCU is getting very top heavy and it's got to figure out, where it's going with certain things, and that's okay. The DCEU I felt was a big struggle because they were trying too hard to be the MCU.
Right. They changed their
they
plans.
put the universe in there.
Right.
Batman v Superman should never have been the second film in the franchise.
Nope. A second Man of Steel, a Batman standalone movie, another new Green Lanterns movie. Any of those could have helped us going, or even just a Wonder Woman movie right away would have been a better choice, because you would have started establishing characters rather than trying to throw them in after the fact.
I remember watching Man of Steel, and I was just satisfied for the fact that the satellite that they destroyed when he was fighting Zod was a Wayne Enterprises satellite. Like,
Right.
okay, that's a cool nod. Maybe we'll get Batman down the road. Didn't know it was gonna be the next movie, you know. And
Right.
so,
We all suspected it would be at least 5 years, I think, at that point.
yeah, but at the same time, like there were good elements. Like I love them going back to the battle between him and Zod, and you see that Bruce Wayne was in
Yeah.
Metropolis, and like he's seeing the aftermath of one of his buildings being destroyed, and the people, you know, the collateral damage. That was a great concept, but it's like just just take the time, don't rush into it. I was a little bit apprehensive, and it's not so much because I saw this. I'm good with Guy Gardner. Straight from the comics. I personally find it more funny that basically James Gunn can basically get Nathan Fillion to do anything he wants to, and Nathan Fillion will do whatever he wants.
Yep.
You know, I mean, if you just go back to Volume 1, he's a giant, you know, blobby looking monster, you know, in the prison. And thankfully it was CGI, but then you also had him in that stupid suit in Volume 3, which I absolutely loved.
Oh, that suit was so dumb. So
Ergo Core
ridiculous.
was so funny.
Right.
But like this, my only concern when I saw this was we're rushing into more superheroes, but again we're jumping into an established universe. We'll probably
Right.
get flashbacks to get some concept. We see Jonathan Kent in the previews, so we are going to get a little bit of catch up to Superman. We're going to see that, but this is a Superman that already exists in this universe, and it makes sense that this is going to be there.
Every time I think of that moment in the trailer, I come to the conclusion that Martha is the one that died, not Jonathan.
I can't do that after Marissa Tomei.
I'm just saying to think about it. Why would an older Clark be sitting there with his dad if Martha is around, right? That's not something we see. This is a classic scene we would have seen with Martha in the other Superman movie, right? So like, I suspect they're going to twist it. Martha will be the one that was like telling him how to be a better Superman and then dies of a heart attack. And then Jonathan's like, you got to do what your mom said. You know, I don't know. And it would work for me. I have no problems with that.
Yeah. Again,
but I get that impression.
I feel like the comic books have been setting us up for this for decades when it comes to Elseworlds. There are going to be versions. I remember I wasn't super happy about New 52 when it came out. That's okay.
Right.
You know, you're not going to deal with it. But what were they doing? They were appealing to a new generation.
Right.
Because the old generation were doing what? They were just collecting comics to sell them out to people.
Right.
So,
but look, New 52 gave us some amazing stuff. Like, look at the Scott Snyder Batman that we got, the Court of Owls. Like, that is a brilliant series and one of the best Batman series to date. And that came out of the New 52. So it's not like when they change things up that it's automatically going to suck. Maybe even, so let's put this out there for the universe. Maybe you don't like Superman 2025. Maybe that happens. But does that mean you should give up on the DCU? No, because maybe when they do the Lanterns TV show, it's going to be brilliant and it might hit right for you. So give the universe a chance to establish itself before judging it.
And this is coming from a huge Marvel fan, because I will say I did not like how Marvel fans were crapping on DC fans because of the quality of the DCU. I said what I didn't like about the DCU, but I wasn't going there to scrutinize. Well, yeah, your movie sucks because, you know, look at the terrible CGI. I had a problem with Joss Whedon, and I think everybody did. I was personally glad that they gave a Snyder cut, even though it took away 4 hours of my life. I almost said 4 years.
Feels like it.
But it was, but I will say, in a lot of cases, it was better than the original.
I'm just gonna say I hate both of them. Like I dislike both of them. I think that making it black and white was weird. Like you should pre-plan for black and white because there's a reason and an aesthetic. But also just adding an hour and a half of slow motion.
Yeah.
Where you literally just take out most of those scenes or speed them to a normal rate. Kind of like this trailer shows us Superman runs in, slows down for a second, and then speeds back up. That's how you use slow-mo, in my opinion. You don't just... With the Flash was like the exception. Like, that works because you need to be following the character. Like, when he's fighting Superman, even in the Justice League movie, I'm like, okay, that was one of my favorite scenes. Even though I don't like the movie, I do enjoy the, like, when Superman looks at him and
like
you're
when
like,
he turns and looks,
whoa,
yeah.
like that's a great moment. But great moments don't make a movie; they make good trailers, and that's not what we want. We want good movies.
Yeah.
I would rather have a bad trailer and a great movie than the other way around. So
Yeah,
that's just
and
me.
we've gotten that before. We've gotten really good trailers to realize we were duped in the movies,
Right.
and
Or completely lied to. Infinity War. Sorry.
Morbius,
Right. That's another one.
which
I had to show
I
my
call it
wife.
more BS more than anything
Right,
else.
more
So,
BS. I like that.
yeah.
But no, I showed my wife the Infinity War trailer, and I was like, "Look, that's Hulk. You've seen
Oh,
this movie. Is he in it? Yeah, at the
I
beginning.
I remember going to Toys R Us when it still existed, and they had the Hulkbuster with the Hulk busting out of the Hulkbuster,
Right.
and I was like, man, they're really going for this, and then it never happened.
Well, you couldn't put Hulk next to Thanos at the end of that movie. It would not have gone the way that that movie went. It would have gone very differently if Hulk was even remotely as powerful as he is in the comic books. That's the only my problem. I know this is way an aside, but at least with Superman movies, the power and strength is there, and your character hasn't been cheesed out by Marvel, who basically was like, "This is the world breaker. I mean, this is the city breaker. I mean, this is the guy that breaks blocks in Harlem. That's the Hulk you're gonna get." So I'm just like, oh, it's killing me. But I still love the movies. Even though I don't like Ragnarok, I still enjoy watching some of the Hulk parts, and I enjoy parts of it because you can find good in most movies. But people don't want to. They don't want to even try because being positive is lame.
Well, I think that's a good last like comment to have, and I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can do this properly without screwing something up. I'm gonna go ahead and just take us out of that one, and let's go a little bit more. There we go. I like that better. I guess you guys don't see it, so let me go and do it for you too.
Oh, there we
Um,
go.
so my last thought is that I think we could talk about is the fact that we are spoiled as consumers of film. We have had the opportunity to see the impossible come to the screen, whether it be a galaxy far, far away, whether it be kids putting on VR, headsets, which I know you have a touching point about that, dinosaurs walking the earth, or our superheroes flying, fighting, shooting lasers from their eyes, and doing feats that normal cable work couldn't do in, let's say, the 70s and 80s. And so I think we've gotten to a point where we are too dependent on CGI and the scale of the spectacle that we're expecting out of films, and we are less likely to get good stories because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big problem that we have to understand. It's like the cheap, quick, and good. You can get it good and cheap, but you can't get it quick. You can get it good and quick, but you won't be cheap. You can get it quick and good. No, you can get it quick and cheap, but it won't be good. I
Right.
almost messed that up.
Sorry.
And that's the kind of the same thing with films. We've gotten like Daredevil Born Again that's out. Um, People are still complaining about the first episode's CGI, or at least the effects, because it just looked choppy. But they're forgetting the fact that there's a good, solid story going through. And they forget Jurassic Park was going to be like Jim Corwin stop motion animation.
Right. It still would have been good.
It
Still
still
would
would
have
have
been
been good. It was a good
Right.
story. Now we and thankfully, like, when they were doing it, there's a little bit of a nod because they, if you go back and watch the documentary for Jurassic Park, they were able to use the at least the mechanics of stop motion to help make the CGI. They had little robots that they would move around, and then
Mm-hmm.
the CGI would fill in the gaps, which was basically very much like, mocap, where you see the dots and it's tracking something actually there. um and they took something that was supposed to be extinct at that point, and we've seen other things since that have done more practical. Godzilla minus one, shoestring budget.
15 million. Yeah.
That's sad to say, shoestring budget, but yeah.
But that's a
But that's
shoestring budget for a
yeah
CGI heavy film these days. Like,
which which was at a scale and spectacle that people were not expecting. And look how well it did. It
Yeah.
extended its time. It's still well received. People are speculating and hoping for, for more, and we're, getting, more stuff later. There are ways to focus on good storytelling that doesn't require big bangs and booms.
Or even the fact that you get things like the Deadpool suit that looks really good, but only his eyes are CGI'd, or even
Yeah.
Wolverine's in Deadpool and Wolverine. The only last thing I want to mention, because I did want to bring this up, and you brought up Jurassic Park, which is perfect. The fact that Jurassic World Rebirth is coming out and it's getting a little hate, but not for the most part. People are like, we'll see. But yet they're crapping all over Superman. I'm like, they're coming out in the same month. This is the 7th film in a long series of films. I expected it to get more crap than we get from the Superman movie, and yet it's the other way around.
Well,
It's
I kind
weird.
of see. I know for myself, I was a diehard Jurassic Park fan. My mom made me read the Michael Crichton book before I ever saw the movie as a kid. I was in 4th grade going into 5th grade.
You read
Uh,
that in 4th grade? Oh, wow.
I read that in 4th grade. So like I not only did I read it twice, I had the audiobook that was going on loop until the tapes wore out. I read the junior novelization, the picture book. I consumed so much Jurassic Park. I recorded the James Earl Jones documentary on the making of Jurassic Park and wore that thing to the ground.
That is
I
on the 4K release,
love,
by the way. Just putting it out
man,
there.
I love Jurassic Park. And yes, Jurassic World did it for me. I'm sorry, not Jurassic World, Lost World Jurassic Park. I enjoyed it, not as much as the first. But it was at least still, and once I deviated from the books, that's where I kind of lost it. I almost feel like for Jurassic World Rebirth, I have hope because they have one of the original script writers for Jurassic Park. But then I heard at CinemaCon it came out that there's a fire breathing dinosaur, and I'm like,
Yep. I mean, we had battling dinosaurs, at least in Jurassic World, but what I did hear, and I think we've got caught up to you being fans of Jurassic Park, etc., because we've been on a binge for the last 8 months buying books. We actually bought the like novels and everything.
awesome.
Not that we hadn't already listened to them or read them, but we're getting further into it. But what's crazy is that there's so much material in those 2 books that there's still, even in Rebirth, there's going to be a scene from the original Jurassic Park movie that was never in the Jurassic Park
Are you talking about the raft?
movie. The raft scene,
river?
yes, 100%. And that's
Oh,
the Jeep scene in the original Jurassic Park is the kind of replacement for that scene, right? Did you know they also shot the little like Triceratops scene with the kids in the original Jurassic Park, but they never put it in the movie?
Really?
Yeah, they have storyboard and everything, but they just never went to full fruition. So it's very interesting how even these newer films have taken elements from the original 2 books and are still kind of peppering things along, which is really great.
Yeah,
And,
because I mean,
you
we
know,
got the
there's not that much source material, so Superman's got 80 years of source material, people. So chill out and let Superman be released. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was thinking about it because like the river scene was one I always wished, like the sleeping juvenile T-Rex and then it coming after them in the water, like that whole
Mhm.
scene was like the best thing, and then them going into the aviary. And I
Right.
remember seeing scenes in Jurassic Park 3. I'm like, oh, they're gonna do the aviary, they're gonna do the aviary, and then I was like so disappointed.
When they
And
didn't, right?
yeah, and then then we saw an aviary in Jurassic World. I'm like, no, they're not doing it to me again. So there is potential there, and yes, I think with any film, you hope for the best, you expect the worst. You can go into that. I don't know. I was enjoying trolling people who were hating on this movie. Speaking of Superman, I was enjoying just kind of arguing back and forth because I'm sitting there going, what investment do you have in this?
Right.
Are you a WB executive? Are you? I mean, listen, if this film doesn't do well and you hate James Gunn, guess what? They're probably not going to be on the executives as much longer. Zaslav has no problem axing people.
Right.
Superman doesn't do
But
well.
also, if
they're
this
gone.
does really well, does that affect your life? Like, if this movie comes out and it's the biggest movie smash hit in a century, does your life change tomorrow? No, it doesn't. So,
And
like, why are you hating on something that's not even going to affect your real life?
And I would say that it's probably because there are individuals that hold on to what I like to call the poison of bitterness.
Mm.
I've always said it this way: bitterness, when you have bitterness towards someone, it's like drinking poison, hoping the other person dies.
Right.
That's that's all it is. You're I had listen, we're nerds. I had a bully when I was a teenager. And I remember um two things that happened to me, and this is probably the best way to deal with it. I remember him calling me up, telling me what's everything that was wrong with me. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know what? I just hung up on him. He called me back. He's like, did you just hang up on me? And I'm like, I don't know. Does it sound like this? And I hung back up on him because
Gold.
what important, and I remember like there was a discussion because there were adults in our lives, not my mom is amazing, but there were adults in our lives that were trying to say, well, I must have done something wrong to make him not like me. And I said, you know what, I'm just glad that I can be important to somebody, that I
Yeah,
am
you're living
so
rent free in his
important.
head.
Yeah, I am so important in their lives that they think so much about me, because honestly, I don't think about them until I have to deal with them.
Right.
And I think that's what we have to live with. If you don't like these films, if you're not happy with James Gunn, you know what? Don't make him important to your life.
Yeah.
Thank
Disengage.
thank you, all of you haters who have trashed and have talked about Superman since the trailers have come out. You have made it one of the most popular videos on the DC social media platform, one of the most played videos. Whether it's because you're watching it over and over again because you're wanting to dissect it, listen, bad publicity is still good publicity in my
Yeah.
eyes. And
Well, you're
so,
also making people like me and Tony want to see it more. Like
oh yeah,
you're basically solidifying that I will be watching this movie no matter how bad it sucks, because because I now want to see how wrong you are. Really is what it kind of boils
oh
down to.
listen, I have social media. Like if you guys know, I love doing analysis about the Marvel films. I've kind of waned a lot lately. I'm trying to find my place. I'm finding new inspiration talking about Superman because I love combating hate. And so, if anything, thank you for giving me material because I'll probably be talking about Superman a whole lot more.
Right? No, I love that. That's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
But with that said, Snippets, thank you so much for joining me with this
Yeah,
and
thanks
just
for
talking about
having me.
this. I was sitting because Will couldn't come and do this. He had a prior engagement that was not on his radar until his wife brought it to his attention, which is perfectly fine. And then I'm sitting there thinking, like, who would I like to talk about? Superman. And I remember you texted me like I cried watching the trailer, and I'm like, there we go, that's my person. And I'm glad it worked out. I was so glad you're able to get off work. And so let's go ahead and wrap this off again. No shameless plugs here, but go ahead and talk about the real study and what you guys are planning on doing this week.
Actually, so this week we're going to be doing two romantic comedies, if you will. Well, sort of, one of them is sort of a romantic comedy, but we're doing Roman Holiday, which is, of course, the Dalton Trumbo film from the 1960s, I'm sorry, 50s. And then we're doing a movie from River Phoenix before he passed called Dogfight, which you'd have to look that one up. I had never heard of it until my co host suggested it. So those are the two movies we'll be doing. But then, because we are doing a Superman deal on July 6th, I did want to plug that. We will be doing a full-fledged debate about Man of Steel. It's going to be me versus my co-hosts, and we are going to watch the film and then thoroughly analyze it and break it down scene by scene throughout the whole film. So it'll probably be like a 2-hour event. We want to do that right before Superman hits. Again, I will be saying positive things about Man of Steel because it's important to not just crap on a movie, but do know that if you hated Man of Steel and you want to hear reasons why, I hate it too. I will be there to tell all to everyone. So yeah.
That's awesome. And something that I've been playing around with because we did this. I did this last year on the Nerd Initiative Network, which was I did a road to Deadpool and Wolverine.
Hmm.
I really feel like I want to do a road to Superman, which I want to be. I'm still thinking through this because I feel like in some of this it's going to be like self torture. But this would include the Christopher Reeve Superman films, Superman Returns, Man of Steel. I'm debating about. I guess I would have to put Batman v Superman because Superman's in the title.
Right.
But I
And he is a big
may-
part of the movie. So
Yeah, I may consciously leave Superman out because he's really only in like 25% of like Justice League, like less than 25%. So
besides, it's a Justice League movie, not a Superman movie. So
exactly. But we'll probably be doing that where we'll probably take one film a week before the film comes out, and I'll be working on a schedule for that. But yeah,
Black Adam? I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
goodbye, Mr. Sim. No,
I deserve that.
I could take you off the screen real quick. No. But yeah, so we'll definitely be doing that. And I will work on a schedule for that. If you are watching for the first time, please be sure to reach out. You can, if you would like to be on a show or would like to participate, or you just want to get into content creation, check out itsfanbox.com. Look at it, marinate, and then if you want to, reach out to itsfanbox@gmail.com or contact@itsfanbox.com. Both of those emails will be regularly monitored, and if you're interested in writing, we'd love to see if that's something you'd like to do, or even be on video. Also, with that said, tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific, we are doing the Daredevil Born Again talk, which we are going to be talking about this last episode, Isle of Joy, and it was a doozy. And then don't forget, I'm super excited. Doctor Who, the new season premieres tomorrow night as well, and on TARDIS Talk on Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 Pacific, we'll be talking about the new episode 1 of the new Who. So be sure to check that out. Again, on its Fanbox, you'll find all of that. And again, Real Studies on what time?
We're on at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, Sundays.
Absolutely. And so we are looking forward to that. And again, if you enjoy listening to this and you'd like to make this and maybe our other shows part of your commute to work, you can find all of these shows on audio form wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also check out fanboxnetwork.com. And it will show you all of our shows that we're doing currently, and there will be more to come. But with that said, thank you again so much, Mr. Simmons, for joining me, and you all have a wonderful evening.